So please get to your sides. And first I would like to introduce you the Rector of the University of Bologna that will welcome all of us.
Dear guests, dear colleagues, welcome to this important event for which I have the honor to introduce. And a special thanks to my colleagues and friends, Professor Giancarlo Montanari and Professor Andrea Cavallini, who have organized this international and successful conference. As you may know, I am a humanist, and humanities obviously cannot compete with sciences and technologies with regard to the specific content of their discoveries. But the humanities can help sciences and technologies in formulating their questions with greater semantic, conceptual, and historical precision and vision. This is of primary importance, given that the destiny of science seems increasingly to be that of asking new questions rather than giving new answers. Solid dielectrics seems to be a very specific theme, but it is great to discover how electrical insulation can be relevant for our society. Our promoting high voltage direct current transmission lines can ensure a more sustainable society, a society where renewable sources could provide a large fraction of our energy needs. And moreover, it is really interesting to learn in how many different fields dielectrics can play a role, from harvesting energy to cancer treatment, from tides to cultural heritage preservation. This interdisciplinary forum provides a unique opportunity for researchers from industry, academia, and research centers to come together to review their collective progress, consider the latest developments, and discuss future challenges in the area of solid dielectrics. It gives me great pleasure to note that this dialogue is taking place here at the University of Bologna, since one of the factors of its excellence certainly lies in the multidisciplinarity of its research. Moreover, research at the alma mater sharply focuses on international sphere. At international conferences such as this one, help in maintaining and reinforcing this distinguishing feature. I hope your work goes well, and I wish you a pleasant stay in Bologna.
Thank you very much, Professor Dionigi. And okay, so I would like to just make a brief opening to explain a little bit more of the city you live in. I mean, you are in, sorry. And when it was my task to prepare this presentation, this opening, I realized that there are so many things Bologna is that it would be very difficult for me to focus in 10 minutes or less on all of these things. So I decided to have a look at the precise aspect of Bologna. That is, we have the oldest university in Europe, and depending on your notion of a university, perhaps in the world. It dates back to 1088 AD, which is a long time ago. And yet this is known to many people in Europe at least, but there are some things that I have some questions to ask. That is, why Bologna and why that time? And so I did my homeworks. I get back to my school books, and I discovered I rediscovered that was a time of great changes in Europe, because the feudal system was fading away, and so it was a time where the social classes could change, and there is room for new social classes based more on intellect rather than craftsmanship. But said that, this doesn't explain fully why Bologna, at the first university in Europe at least, you just say that you had a reactor with many reagents inside, but then you need a few catalysts who really start the reaction that brought this result. And the catalysts are a sequence of events that really follow the law of cause and effect, and they follow a thread also, which is the law. It's not engineering, it is the law in this case. And also we have a few men that are endowed with rare skills, which has a kind of random activator of the reaction, speaking in engineering terms. So our story starts from Ravenna. So we'll see the Ravenna during the social tour. It's a good opportunity to see the things. A longer time ago, in the 6th century after Christ. And there you had an enlightened Byzantine emperor. It's Justinian I, the Great. This is the picture of him you see in Ravenna, in San Vitale. And he was a very active person. He was, he built, for instance, Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, which is probably one of the finest churches you can see in the city. And for what it's important to us is that he made an important reform of judicial codes. He assembled all the books with the Roman law, ordered them and make them usable in a very good way. And in some sense, he built up the state-of-the-art of the law at that time. Okay? But he died in 565, and 3 years later, the Longobards felt Italy was weak because the emperor, the good emperor, has died, and they invaded Italy. And that was a disaster because they were a military caste, very proud of their military prowess, and they kept separated from the local population. And also they decided that what remained of the Roman organization of the government had to be destroyed and rebuilt from scratch. And this was very damaging for our society. So, since the thread is the law, what happened to the law at the time? Well, the Longobards, of course, had their laws, but they kept these laws for themselves, while the Romans kept their laws for themselves. So we had two separate laws going on. It had already happened in the past, but this time, however, the Roman government had disappeared. So the law started the Roman law started to get spoiled away, and that was a big problem. So after 3 centuries, an Ottonian emperor from Germany, Otto I, unified Germany and Italy, the north of Italy, and decided that that was an empire, the Holy Roman Empire. It was another attempt to rebuild the Roman Empire, of course. And he found out that he had many laws in this empire. He had the barbaric laws with the ordeal. The ordeal is a very simple mean to understand if you are guilty or not. You are put on fire. If you survive, you are not guilty. So many people were probably guilty at the time. They had the Roman law spoiled by many years of misuse, so to speak, and the Catholic law which applied to the priest only. So there was a principle of personality to decide which law you have to abide. And the principle of personality said that you have to follow the law of the people you belong to. But you can imagine if you have a barbar and a Roman and a priest having a quarrel together, that was really a mess to decide which law you have to use to decide a quarrel. So the emperor found out that that was really a mess. And of course he decided that he could not go any longer with that, since that is the law is a sign of authority of the power of the emperor. And they decided they should have a common law. And if you want to have a common law, at the time, the only real book, the good book, was still the Justinian Code. So somebody had to take back this book, 5 centuries old, and reinterpret it for a society that was completely different. Totally different. 500 years are a lot of time. So some experts that were needed to interpret the code and adapt it to the new society were badly needed. So here we have this is a sequence of events following the law of cause and effect in some sense, but now we have a random generator of the reaction, which is a man called Pepo. We don't know much about him, that is why he's depicted without a face. And we know he was probably born in Ravenna, was active in Bologna, but we know that he was also in the south of France and in Tuscany probably. We know very little of him, except that he really loved to study the Justinian Code for himself. And for some reason, he was able to spread this passion among other people that joined him in studying the Justinian Code. So these people were called the glossatori, and they were a really important person at the time because they were able to adjust the law of the Justinian Code to the law of the emperor. So they were really close to the emperor in some sense. And you can see a tomb of one of them here in the slide. It is a huge tomb for an expert of law. Can you imagine today a lawyer having a tomb like that? So they were really very important persons. And they are thought to be the first university teachers. Okay, but we had teachers at the time, of course. We have schools. So the question is, why? Why? What made it different from other teachers of the time? And to answer this, I think it's good to look at this picture. It is a painting that depicts Irnerio, which was the best of the glossatori, and is called the Light of Law. And it is believed he is the father of European law because his ideas were so bright that many people outside the empire took inspiration from him to build the codes of European countries. So much of Irnerio legacy is in the European codes today. And it's nice to look at Irnerio because he's sitting and studying the Justinian Code, try to interpret, to understand the reason behind the code, to adapt it to the new society. So it was creating something. And indeed, Odofredo, which was a later glossatore, said, by studying, he started to teach. And that is the real legacy to us of Irnerio, because research, in some sense, was the root of teaching. And that is the real legacy of Irnerio, and what makes the University of Bologna different from other schools of that time. And this, I think, is a very important notion for us today at ICSD. So, coming to our present times, I want to dwell a little bit more, one slide in the Middle Ages, quoting John of Salisbury, 1159, who said that we are like dwarfs sitting on the shoulder of giants, in the sense that knowledge progresses because we have smart people that are able to make some steps further on the way, and we have an understanding of the science, of whatever, that is due to these people that allowed us to progress, okay? These are the giants. And surely, for our community, Eric Foster was one of these giants, and since he had many achievements, he was able to start conferences, etc., etc., the ISD decided to have the Eric Foster Memorial Lecture that was awarded to other people that were able to make some leaps ahead in our understanding of our technology. So it is my pleasure to leave the floor for the Eric Foster Memorial Lecture in the next section, and I welcome to Bologna on the behalf of the whole organizing committee.
As you may know, our colleague Cavallini is not only excellent scientist, but also excellent humanist, full of historical culture.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Perfect.